welcome to Fleetway's Roundup with your boy Darius. Back at it again on another Tuesday, afternoon, evening, night, however you want to describe it. And as I said before in my messages and all that, this episode we're not gonna try to make this as long as a lot of the other ones, but there's still a lot to talk about. We got to talk about some crazy ESPN layoffs and some of the surprise faces that got fired because there was some that caught me off guard. We got to talk about Avengers Doomsday finally getting its first trailer. And with almost all these recent Marvel movies, they always got some haters, the lovers, and the people in between. So we'll definitely talk about that. And then we also got to talk about Nintendo being back at it again with their shenanigans. I was trying there to do the mic away, but I don't like how it sounds when I'm listening to it. Yeah, that's probably why the audio is low, because I was keeping the mic away from me. I was trying to test that out, but I don't like it, so I'm gonna keep the mic next to me. But yeah, we got a lot to talk about, so we're gonna get this ball rolling, and we're gonna start off with kind of like the small news. And I see you there. I see you there, cousin, watching this. Glad you could be tuning in. But we're gonna go start things off, and I'm gonna start off kind of with the small news, and then kind of work our way up to the more like lengthier stuff, so then we can be through this a little bit quicker. So just to kind of start things off, like I said, Nintendo kind of back at their stuff as always, even with a lot of game companies at this time. It seems like all of them they're doing all the they just doing all the wrong things, and glad that's sounding better. But yeah, so as this was reported by Culture Crave, a very reliable platform on Twitter that gives a lot of both movie news and has talked about video game news, but typically is more on the movie side. They discussed that Nintendo, I guess they had a little bit of a lawsuit going on in Nintendo where they wanted to get kind of their money back, involved with the whole tariffs, all that kind of stuff. And Nintendo basically says it has no legal obligation to pass U.S. tariff refunds on to gamers. It's asked a court to dismiss the class action lawsuit. Consumers received exactly what they bargained and paid for, which is that's a crazy sentence in of itself, because if you guys don't remember, I'm going to give you just a quick little history lesson here. That when the Switch 2 was coming out was around the time that the tariffs were starting to hit. And then it was announced that Nintendo was going to have their Switch 2 cost about $500, and the Mario Kart game that was coming alongside with it was going to be $80, which was basically the first video game to be hitting $80. And everybody was like, what are y'all doing? What do you mean you're going to charge us $80 for a Mario Kart game? Have you lost your mind? And if people don't want to pay $80, they got to go and pay money. They got to pay that bundle, which is limited. So it was just a whole mess. But basically, Nintendo was trying to chop it up to, oh, well, we got to raise the prices because of these tariffs and everything. And I can understand it. I don't know. So I still feel a little like in that weird middle ground, because I'm like, okay, is it really the tariffs, or have you guys been planning to be doing these price raises and stuff? But this tariff situation was kind of your like, ooh, we got a scapegoat now to justify our price raises. That's just my personal opinion. No one else has to agree with it. That's just me. But now I guess there was a class action lawsuit filed against it where people are like, okay, well, we've heard that you guys are now about to get refunds for the whole tariff situation and stuff. So are you guys going to refund gamers for having to pay higher prices because you guys claim the reason you're charging more is for the tariffs? So you're going to give us back some money for all of that? And they're like, well, no. Basically, big middle finger to everyone there, and basically saying is, well, like they even said in their quote, consumers received exactly what they bargained and paid for, which in of itself is like, it's like, like, whoa. Yeah, I mean, and it's crazy. We're in this age now that a lot of these game companies are becoming super anti-consumer recently. We got PlayStation killing off physical media. We already talked about the whole GTA 6 saga and them being the first to kind of reveal that they weren't doing physical media, and the price ranges and how ridiculous that is and what they're expecting people to pay. Xbox, they've been more on the quiet side, but they're still their stuff. So all these game companies has been crazy, and I'm kind of glad this came out, because I was starting to see people, because how it goes whenever PlayStation, Xbox start messing up. You always got to get people being like, well, at least this company ain't that bad, or as most recently, oh well, at least Nintendo ain't doing this. Well, here's your proof here, people. All you Nintendo fans and all that defending them, they just as bad as the others. As it stands right now, you got to remember none of these companies are your friends. They want the money and they're going to get the money. And I even voiced my opinion on this whole situation on Twitter. Where I even quoted the recent Odyssey movie where I said, bruh, Nintendo really pulled the get these beggars out of here. There's a scene with Robert Pattinson in the Odyssey where he's playing this villain character and he's like, get these beggars out of here. And I'm like, whoa, I'm like, whoa there. But it feels like that feels very like, whoa, and I was like, man, it's kind of funny that it just reminds people Nintendo ain't that good. And then someone that we were following each other and stuff, I had talked about this and I lost a follower because of this opinion where I even took a screenshot. I'm not one for calling people out, but I thought that this was just so dumb. I thought it was so dumb in how I'm like, bruh, we really just making up any word now. Where I said that, and then someone in the follower said, I feel like they're right. Voting for Trump caused this. And then I'm not left, I'm not right, I'm God-centered, okay? But I don't follow either side of politics. I just feel like I don't get that whole conversation because I feel like both sides got skeletons in their closet. So this whole what side is better is just, I think it's a dumb argument. But so when they said that, I said, I understand that sentiment, but I'm also someone who's in that middle with politics talk. But how do we know that if another president was in office, we still wouldn't have tariffs, or that with no tariffs, Nintendo wouldn't still pull this, you know what I mean? And they're like, oh, so you're a centrist. Got it. Then they blocked me. And I'm like, first off, what the heck is a centrist? Like I said, people just making up random words nowadays. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, wait a minute. Wait a minute now. Let's not go making up words and all that. That just doesn't make any sense to me. But I'm just like, okay, that's first off weird. But again, if that's the term you want to call me, then all right, whatever, because I don't care. We do not care. But again, I don't get that sentiment when everybody's like, yeah, this is all Trump's fault. And I'm like, okay, you're not wrong, but at the same time, you're not really right, because to say that he's the main cause, even though he is, it's because he's in the chair of power. But how could we say that if another person was in that chair of power, they wouldn't pull the same dumb stuff that has put us in this situation? And two, I'm also someone who believes that when we get this stuff like this, them raising the game prices, or even them getting rid of physical media like Sony is doing right now, and even Xbox is slightly doing, this stuff be predetermined stuff they be planning. You feel where I'm coming from? They have to be having these discussions long before. It's all just a matter of who pulls the trigger first. It was the same thing with Nintendo. When they announced that their new Mario Kart game was going to be $80, that let a lot of gamers know that, okay, Nintendo just pulled the trigger, and now we're about to see a shift in the market with games. And lo and behold, where are we at now? We're starting to see games now be $80. Some have even gone up to $70. We've seen, which is the low now, which is crazy to think that $70 is now the low for a video game. But we're seeing some that are $80. We're seeing some that, like GTA 6, get in the 90s. And it's like, dude, it's someone is going to pull the trigger one way or another. And I'm someone who even believes that if there were no tariffs, who's to say that they wouldn't have still raised the prices on gaming, because they got to make more money now. And it's just this cycle. And it's like, we got to stop making excuses for these companies. They be planning this stuff because at the end of the day, they got to make money. And they're going to do it no matter if they make people mad or not. It's all just a matter of who pulls the trigger first, and if they maybe have a way to slither around, you know what I'm saying? So that's just something I wanted to share there as far as just the video game section. Again, not anything to stay on too long, but I just think that this is something I wanted to mention and just kind of talk about in general. Well, first, that it sucks to see that they're being anti-consumer friendly as far as that, and blaming it on the consumers for this, when it's just like, we don't control a lot of the higher up stuff. And again, I think it's weird for you to try to use that as your excuse when there's a very much a chance that you could have still been planning to do this in the first place. So again, I digress. We're gonna keep them pushing here and not stay on it, but just share your opinions down below. What do you think about Nintendo basically saying that, well, they got exactly what they deserved, and we don't feel the right to have to refund them for the tariff stuff? It is what it is. Move on. Forget about it. I shared my opinion. You shared yours down below in the chat. Sorry about that. But we're going to go and move on here to the next section, and that is the sports section. As with this, we do have, oh, sorry. Give me one sec here. Had to go and shift that around since I had done it a little differently than normal. But first off, just to kind of let some people know, if you didn't and maybe have watched the series currently on Netflix, season 3 of Quarterbacks is currently ongoing, where it's a show they basically pick 4 quarterbacks from different teams and focus on their lives in the previous season just to see how things went, how things were going in their real life, and also what led to maybe some decisions and so forth. So now on to season 3, we had the rookie of 2025, Cam Ward, in his first season with the Titans. We had the second year from the rookie sensation, Jaden Daniels, in his very rocky 2025 season with the injuries. I was caught off guard when they actually showed the elbow injury. I was like, ow. Every time they showed it, I had to turn my head away because I was like, oh, I thought y'all were going to cut away from it because it's a brutal injury. They talk about Joe Flacco and his season when he was with the Browns at the start of the season, then mid-season gets traded to the Bengals, and how that kind of went for him being the midterm starter until Joe Burrow came back from his injury, and then Baker Mayfield and him trying to fight to keep the Bucs alive to make it to the playoffs. And it was a good season. I was a little skeptical when they announced these 4 quarterbacks because I had nothing against them, but I was like, wow, this is the first season they're talking about they don't have a single quarterback in here that didn't make it into the playoffs. So I was a little caught off guard by that, but overall, I was like, okay, you know what? There's not much I can really say or complain because after watching it, I'm like, all right, this was pretty good. And so the reason I'm bringing that up with quarterbacks kind of leading into is because we kind of are going to really be talking about the quarterback here to the very on my right here, Baker Mayfield, and kind of some things that are going to be coming. And I see you watching from Humble, Texas. Welcome, welcome, welcome. But we're going to be kind of really talking about him. But before we do get over to Baker Mayfield, one of the things that is going on, we have talked about it before, training camp is coming. We've been talking about it. This is the big official camp. This is where everybody is going to be showing up, both the rookies and the veterans. Everybody got to show up to play and get ready. And Adam Schefter, someone we've talked about before on this show, he reported that the Bills, Panthers, Texans, and Dolphins rookie players have officially reported to training camp today. This was at 5 o'clock a.m. So, of course, the rookies are getting started. So that's fun to be hearing. And we're going to probably be hearing more and more news about more and more of the rookies from other teams getting ready, as well as the veterans coming on. And this is it. Like, we are getting closer and closer to the preseason. So share down below, give some party poppers or whoop whoops in the chat if you're excited about that football season. It's almost here. We are almost the preseason, and then once preseason's done, we back. But yeah, so just a little report there with the rookies. But the reason we're talking about a little bit of that training camp and how it connects back to Baker Mayfield here is because I believe I did talk about this on the show, that Baker Mayfield, he had made a statement pretty clear that once training camp starts, he wants a new contract. He wants a new contract with the Buccaneers and said it himself that he's ready for a new contract, and that if the new season starts and I see you, whoop whoop. I know you're in there, and I know which team you like, the Rams. And I've talked very highly about them, so I know you got to be excited to see them back, especially with the new addition of Myles Garrett to that defense. Can't wait to see how he looks. But back to it here with Baker Mayfield. He made a very public statement to reporters at one of the OTAs, which is kind of like the pre training camp and stuff, where he told reporters that if once training camp starts and me and the Bucs do not get a new deal done, pretty much count this as my last season. He pretty much was telling the reporters that, listen, if I don't get some new contract where some kind of extension to stay with the Bucs, I don't expect me to sign anything with them once training camp starts because I want this done now. He doesn't want to wait, none of that. He wants this done. And that's kind of how that works with the quarterbacks and even players in general because they want that security. He's like, I want that extension to know that you guys are going to keep me around and be giving me that money. But the Bucs are also looking back at last season where they had such a high, and then as soon as the injury for Baker happened, they had some of the lowest lows, and it fell off completely to the point where they had to rely on the Saints to win a game for them to make it to the playoffs. And so it was just an overall bad situation. So the Bucs are like, you're getting older, Baker, and you're getting older, and we're just like, but Baker's like, I don't care. I've been a pretty consistent quarterback that has gotten you to the playoffs. I want my money. So we're going to see what happens there, but there have been reports that, thanks to Adam Schefter popping up on the Pat McAfee show today, where there are reports supposedly from Schefter himself where he's saying that it's looking like they are getting close to a deal getting done where Baker Mayfield could cease a deal possibly getting up to $50 million a year. How many years that will be for, we don't know, but hey, $50 million is $50 million. So that's a pretty hefty contract. And then, of course, there's going to be the breakdowns and stuff on what the guarantees will be. But, hey, he's getting his money's worth. So if he does get this contract done, congratulations. And if he doesn't, I'll tell you this. If this is his last season in Tampa, he will have a market for him in free agency because he is a very consistently good quarterback. So we'll see what happens there with Baker Mayfield as far as moving forward with his career. But moving forward, we're going to talk about some more of the business side of the NFL and even leading into some very shocking news that happened today that caught a lot of people off guard, including the people involved. But before we get to that, Ari Meirov, he reported from per TMZ that Tom Brady has had ongoing conversations with WWE about a potential partnership, though it's unclear what will ultimately come from the talks. Brady and TKO CEO Ari Emanuel are both minority owners of the Raiders. TKO is the company that owns WWE. So just kind of a little update there. So already Tom Brady is a part-time owner of the Raiders, and now there's a possibility that he could be even kind of, who knows, a partnership, possible part-time boss or owner of WWE as well, which is crazy to think about. Tom Brady's finding every way to get that bag. Tom Brady is finding every way possible to get that bag, and I can't knock him for that. So we'll see what happens there. That would be a crazy crossover of sorts of him both owning the Raiders and WWE. I know my dad, who's a Raiders fan, and he loves his WWE. I wonder how he feels about that situation, especially if he tunes into the show. But now we're going to get on to the big news that happened today from ESPN, and that was a bunch of layoffs occurred where ESPN were reported by Ari Meirov and even a few others as we're going to break it down. ESPN has parted ways with Ryan Clark, the former defensive player for the Pittsburgh Steelers, in what was the first of several layoffs expected to occur this week. And this is his face there. I feel like anybody that has seen football or even has watched ESPN, you have seen this man's face. He has been on a lot of their episodes. He's been on a lot of their live broadcasts, and he's been a mainstay. And even what's the craziest part, though, is how it happened. What happened was that mid-live show, during the break, he had one of the, executives walk up to him and tell him that he was being let go. And then once the show came back, he just randomly disappeared, nowhere to be seen in the last 10 minutes of the show. It was in my opinion, just hearing that, it was unprofessional, and they should have handled it better. And we even get more reports on this, too, from Ari, where this did happen. Well, it's ongoing today, but this technically happened yesterday, where he was one of the analysts on yesterday's episode of NFL Live when, like I said, off air, he was informed he was being let go, and he didn't appear for the final 10 minutes of the show. And again, now I've been seeing a lot of people, they're rejoicing that he's gotten fired and stuff. People are saying good riddance to this racist. It's the weird thing. The only thing that people seem to have against them is that he had a very, I'll admit, infamous interview with Robert Griffin III, RG3, as he's known, the former Commanders quarterback or Redskins quarterback, where they had a sit-down interview, and Ryan Clark kind of criticized Robert Griffin for marrying a white woman. I saw the clip. It's not a good look for Ryan Clark. So, but I mean, it's an old clip. We don't know if he still shares those thoughts, but I mean, he probably, I don't know. I can't speak on his beliefs and views on how he feels on that kind of situation, but that's kind of the big thing. But what's apparently being led back, though, to this firing is that reportedly people are trying to say that the reason that it really came down to them deciding to actually move forward and letting him go is because during an NFL Live, he was having a talk with Peter Schrager, a guy that I actually really like. He was an analyst I used to watch when I was younger, visiting my dad. I would go to, on every like Saturday morning, I would go to Good Morning Football and watch, and he would be one of those main analysts on there. And then he got promoted to NFL Live on ESPN and stuff. And I think he deserved it. He is a good analyst. Um, and they were having a conversation, and then Ryan Clark kind of looked at him and he said, "Is that's the non-player in you talking?" And it was seen as a very like aggressive, like kind of passive aggressive discussion, where then even Peter kind of got a little offended by it and stuff, and he was like, "Don't belittle me like that." And it was like one of those things where, and it's just one of those things where hearing that, and I'm just sitting there like, if that is seriously why you guys fired him, was because he let his emotions speak out and tell one of his co-hosts or fellow analysts that that's the non-player in him talking, that's something I feel just a little petty. Should he have been more professional? Yes, very much so. Do you think that Ryan Clark's the only player that be on these shows, whether it's basketball or football, that has to listen to analysts talking like they know the game, and it's like, and they just be sitting there like, there's no way that some of the players who we have to sit with Stephen A. Smith, hearing him talk about sports and everything, ain't sitting there just like they ain't like, Stephen A., will you shut up? You ain't no player. Like, come on now. Let's not pretend that there ain't some actual NFL or basketball players that have to sit there with analysts who talk like they know the game, and it's just like, y'all ain't played a single snap or a single game, and you guys want to talk like y'all know about it. But at the same time, they stay professional. They don't let their feelings get out there. They don't pull that you're not a player stuff. They talk to them like any other analyst, and they rebuttal in a more professional manner. So in a sense, I understand that you got to be more professional, but if that's what made them seriously be like, you know what, we got to fire him, I think that's dumb. Now, if it was more of like the interview, like I said, the RG3 interview, and me personally, I do think Ryan Clark has been slowly falling off. As a guy who has watched NFL Live for a while, I've seen him, and I can admit the last few years, well, months, I've watched him, it does feel like he's starting to lose his edge a little bit as far as an analyst goes. And I do think that they got to start moving forward as far as when it comes to getting newer faces. But it's still, it sucks to see it because he's been on this show for so long, and it's just crazy to think he's gone. We even got some more further details before we move on to some of the other surprising names that have been let go from this huge layoff. But one of the further details, ESPN's intention was to inform Ryan Clark on Tuesday, which would be today, but there was growing concern the news would leak as word began spreading privately. Out of respect for Clark, ESPN executives told him during the show so he could hear it directly from them first, which is like, okay, I guess that's good that they wanted him to hear it from them themselves, but at the same time, I'm still just like, but y'all couldn't have. I don't know. I get it, leaks, rumors, and all that, but I don't know. It's a weird situation. It's a weird case, as all things considered. But again, it sucks to see him go, and I wish him the best. I hope he can find another show. We've seen it with others. If Shannon Sharp, a guy who's a very controversial, which I'm still surprised he still has a platform, can have a podcast show and all of that, Ryan Clark can find something out, So I believe he'll get onto someone's show as a co-host. We'll definitely see, and who knows, maybe even one of the other people we're going to talk about here, he could end up having another show with. But again, wish him the best of luck, and we'll see where his journey takes him. One of the other people that was announced to be let go was none other than is expected to be let go this week for the layoffs is another big name, Tom Pelissero. This is someone who has been up there with Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter. He's broken down a lot of extensions for players, a lot of trades. He's broken down a lot of NFL news. And as far as I've been on the internet paying really close attention to NFL news, his name has always been around. So that's another big, like, whoa, that's a big one for them to be letting go. And it sucks to be seeing that his name has been a mainstay, and it just sucks to see that these layoffs are happening. And we even kind of got a little bit of a breakdown too of some of the names that have been heavily discussed. And there's even one that wasn't discussed in this post here that I'm going to share, but another big name too that hasn't been like a mainstay, but he has popped up pretty consistently. But some of the names: Tom Pelissero, Ryan Clark, Bart Scott, Carl Rivek, and Stefania Bell are some of the few names that have been shared. So it's like a lot of names and a lot of faces that have been on ESPN and NFL Live. One of the other ones, well, as you see here, Bart Scott, he was a former NFL linebacker, he's another face I've seen for a while, a few times on NFL Live Get Up Network and talking with them. So another familiar face, but another big one is former Patriots and Carolina Panthers quarterback Cam Newton also is being let go and is parting ways with ESPN, which he's not been a mainstay like some of the other names we've listed, but he has popped up on a lot of the NFL Live shows and networks discussing as an analyst and stuff. So he has been on there pretty consistently, but it looks like sadly he is also part of the list of names of layoffs. And it's just like, man, these are some familiar faces that I've seen pop in and out of this show that are now, they're gone. So you share down below if you recognize some of these faces from watching NFL Live, or just recognize them as former players and now seeing that they're no longer part of ESPN and they're just gonna have to find being co-host with someone else or making their own podcast. That does seem to be the thing with a lot of these sports players, is if they can't get with ESPN, get a big deal, they'll make their own podcast, or they'll start off with their own podcast and then ESPN will pick them up. So hey, pretty big shifts happening in ESPN there, but we're gonna keep it pushing as we're gonna go and move on to the movie side of things. And didn't mean for that because that's the main one. I'll have to. Don't worry, guys. I'll make sure to work on that properly set up. But we are going to start with the movie news with a little bit of some more. I know it feels like every time we've talked about movie news, there has been sadly someone who is gone. And sadly, we had it was announced today that Kaylee Hoddle has sadly passed away at the age of 18 after a fatal car crash. She was the most recent well-known roles that she played in was playing as Jaya, the little girl that was in Godzilla vs. Kong, and then came back as Jaya in Godzilla x Kong, The New Empire. And yeah, when I saw this news, my jaw was like, whoa, this caught me off guard. And it's sad to hear it because this wasn't any like natural causes. Even then, 18 years old, there's nothing natural about that. And it sucks to see a life that was starting to thrive in the movie industry with some of these roles that she was taking, and probably could have found her way into more films, her life to get taken so quickly. So again, it sucks to see that. And as always, when we talk about these serious news and situations, I always want to just send my condolences to the family. That it sucks to see that. And again, just sorry for your loss, and my prayers are with you always on this. So sucks to see it. And yeah, even when I tried to look up more about her name, it does sadly seem like Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire was the last movie she appeared in, because even in the new Godzilla movie that's supposed to be coming out, Supernova, it doesn't look like she's listed anywhere in the casting. So hopefully though, I would hope that in Supernova that they do have some kind of tribute at the end of the movie for both her and Sam Neill, because that's another actor that's going to be, that we do know is going to be in the new Godzilla Kong movie, is Sam Neill, and he's passed away. So I do hope that they have like in loving memory of these two actors, because Sam Neill was joining the MonsterVerse and we had someone who was part of it, and now they're both gone. So again, my prayers go out to each family for this, and it just sucks to see it, but they keep things rolling. And I know it's hard to start off with something like that and then keep the ball going, but we got to keep it rolling on this show. Next up here in our movie news is we've been talking about this Warner Brothers Paramount saga and how it's been going around like that we've been talking about like the ins and outs. Kind of gave you guys even in a previous episode kind of a quick history lesson of what's been going on and the shady stuff of how this could have happened. Then we recently talked about some good news that apparently a lot of lawyers and courts were starting to be like, wait, we're not going to let this happen. We're going to block this. Well, we did get an update today. Well, yesterday that a judge has ordered a temporary halt to Paramount's acquisition of Warner Brothers. So at this moment, they are basically saying, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right here. And they're like, no, you stop right there. We're not moving forward with this. We need to do more. They're like, we need to do more investigation work into this merger because there's something that does not smell right here. And I hope that's what they're thinking, because clearly, in my opinion, something isn't right behind the scenes. That there's something shady going on. I already gave y'all, in my opinion, all the hints to why I believe that this is shady, and I'm glad it's being halted. We'll see what happens. And again, as always, I'll keep you posted as far as any upcoming news. If we get any good news, bad news, as far as if this merger moves on or is completely stopped in its tracks. Next up here, we're going to just briefly just show that we did get the announcement that, well, we talked about it a little bit, that during CinemaCon, they had shown that Snoop Dogg has shown up to talk that he's going to be having a biopic. Well, we have kind of our release date here where I don't know even why Discussing Film uses they used a very, you probably can't see it on your side, but on my side, they used a very pixelated image of Snoop Dogg. I don't know why they did that, but it is what it is. But they announced that the biopic for Snoop Dogg will release on August 6th, 2027 in theaters. Hey, that's kind of the new trend where a lot of singers and stuff are now doing the biopics, whether they're deceased or where now you have deceased pop stars as singers, and now even ones that are alive are getting their own biopics. So Snoop Dogg is joining in on that, and he's like, "Hey, I want mines now." I think I did break it down at CinemaCon. He was like, "Yeah, we're gonna do my biopic, and you already know we're gonna be, all that kind of stuff, Snoop Dogg stuff." But moving on here, we have talked about it that up and coming we have San Diego Comic-Con, which is one of the big comic movie events where a lot of news for future movies and animated stuff get announced there for reveals. And we kind of been having some recent talks and interviews with Kevin Feige, especially with this up and coming Comic-Con, where one of his recent things he did say, because they did announce already that Disney Marvel will be showing up at Comic-Con to reveal stuff for, if I'm correct, I think they did say some Brand New Day stuff, Spider-Man related, some Avengers Doomsday related stuff. And it was funny because we are going to talk about another topic here, that we did get the trailer for Avengers Doomsday. So a lot of people were like, well, okay, so what else could you possibly have to reveal or discuss, especially now that you have the trailer already released? What could you talk about? Well, I'm so sorry about that. Marvel, they're not unfamiliar from having big reveals for stuff they've already had a trailer drop for. So definitely exciting. Kevin Feige, he said, when we go to Hall H, it's for a reason. It's to have some surprises and show a few things. So basically telling everybody that, listen, just because we already dropped the trailer for everybody to see for Doomsday does not mean we don't have big reveals for Saturday. So get excited, Marvel fans. On Saturday for San Diego Comic-Con, we're going to have some big news. I would not be surprised if they maybe have some more actor reveals of people who will be in Doomsday, especially because of some of the rumored people. Like there's rumors that Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is supposed to be in Doomsday, and Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool, and that Wolverine are going to be in there. So they might have them come up on stage. They'd be like, hey, check it out. So we'll definitely have to see what goes on there. But moving on, like I said, Avengers Doomsday did have its first trailer release yesterday, and I'm not going to show that trailer as just kind of in a sense of don't want to be revealing it. I believe you guys have the right to go and look it up yourselves and watch everything with your own eyes. I know I show a lot of trailers here and there, but there's always those trailers that I want to be careful of showing, because I know some studios can be they can be super tight on that. But we did get a first poster here where you see Dr. Doom standing in front of a mural with his helmet off, not his helmet, his mask off, and you see a mural that looks like possibly either a mother and child or a wife and son. There's been a lot of speculation on the motivations for Doom, because in the comics, Doctor Doom, he loved his mother, and that kind of led, her passing did lead to a lot of his motivations to learn certain things in the comics because of that. And so some people think that this could be a kind of a representation of Doom and his mom, but others believe that it could be that there's been a lot of rumors suggesting that maybe that there's been a lot of rumors and supposed leaks that Doom's motivation is that he pretty much is doing what he's doing of Steve Rogers and what he did in Endgame, him traveling back in time and having a kid with Peggy, and that it resulted in the incursions. For any non-comic fans out there, incursions are these events that basically where two worlds in the comics are about to collide, and if both of the worlds collide, they basically destroy themselves and no one lives. So the only way for you to basically survive is you have to destroy the other world to prevent your world from dying. And based in the comics is the whole thing, Secret Wars, resulting in multiple other universes of Marvel characters basically be like, the only way we can survive is we got to destroy that other planet, the other universe, and the other universe is like, well, we got to destroy your planet because we don't want to die. And it's a big, this is a big upcoming two-parter here they're gonna do with Doomsday and Secret Wars. And so seemingly the motivation for Doom is that he has a grudge against Steve for what he did, because that's the rumor, is that he's going to be from another universe where his wife and son were taken from him, and now he has a huge grudge because he's like, because of what you did, now I need to try to stop these incursions from ever happening. But of course, Doom being Doom, he's not going to he has his own ways of wanting to do it. But hey, this poster looks clean. In the trailer, I'll tell y'all this: Robert Downey Jr. I was skeptical hearing that he was going to be playing Doom, because Doom is from an other world country in Latveria. Everybody was like, can he really pull that off? And that's kind of feels insensitive to have him just play a character like that. But the voice sounded pretty good. I heard a little Downey in there, but other than that, I was like, okay, you're cooking with the Doom voice, Downey. I'll give you that. So we'll see what happens there. But cool poster, and we have our official release date for December 18th, 2026. Is Doomsday is the tagline, and they currently have on their YouTube channel a live stream where they're just doing a Doomsday clock where it's constantly counting down to the official release date. And it was funny because that's how everybody knew a trailer was coming, because on that, they did a weird thing where the timer, some of the numbers had turned green and started to count down, and once they hit 0, it revealed the trailer. So it's a cool little marketing campaign that they're doing here. And also, too, it is official. Dune's Day is happening, as both Dune Part 3, the finale to the trilogy saga of the Dune movies, and Doomsday will both be releasing on December 18th. And some of you might be wondering, Darius, Fleetway, why are they calling this Doomsday? Well, this is kind of the internet's callback way to Barbenheimer. You might remember when the Barbie movie and Oppenheimer were both releasing on the same day, both projected movies to be reaching like $1 billion and being like big hits. They both released on the same day, and people treat it as an event. They were like, oh yeah, we're here for Barbenheimer, where some people would literally go to the movie, watch Barbie, and then turn around and watch Oppenheimer in the same day, or vice versa. You saw people wearing suits you'd see people wearing suits where they had one half black for Oppenheimer and the other half pink for Barbie, and it was like a big thing. So now this is this year's Barbenheimer instead, Doomsday, with Dune and Avengers Doomsday being the two big franchises releasing on the same day. So we'll see if fans do something clever like Barbenheimer with the outfits, like if they're going to try to find a cross to do like a mixed costume of how they look in Dune and a little bit of Doom, Doctor Doom. We'll have to see, but hey, we'll see. This is going to be big because these are two big upcoming movies this year, and they're going to be competing with each other for that box office money. So we'll see how this happens. But more news, especially with Doomsday. After the trailer release, it is now officially the second biggest trailer launch of all time, with 500 three 503 million views, sitting next to Brand New Day as being now some of the biggest trailers of all time. Just really showing how big these two movies are for Marvel this year. And they're both coming out this year. People want them. The views show that people are excited. They want to see these movies. And they're like, give us Brand New Day and Doomsday. We ready. And I'm ready too. So yeah, that's pretty big. And again, I know I keep talking about, but this is really kind of the only thing we have to really talk about in the movie section. But yeah, from that, even more big news with Doomsday. Avengers Doomsday has earned $16.5 million in the first day of ticket pre-sales. So people are already going out there and are like, we want our tickets and we want them now, okay? And yeah, I mean, they're just setting off these big all these just big, like, whoa, like, wow. All these records are being broken with Doomsday. Like, people want to see it. And I kind of, even before we move on to our last thing of the movie section and kind of last even Marvel news here, is with the trailer, there's been a little bit of, like I said, a little bit of controversy. Some people are like, okay, this trailer is okay, but it's just not hitting for me. But the 503 million views still tell you people are watching it. So, but personally, I'll tell you this. I think I understand why people are like, this isn't doing it for me. Because overall, I've seen people cook the trailer. They're saying, it's not that good. Some people aren't happy that Steve Rogers is coming back. I am someone that's like, man, they're doing my boy Sam Wilson, who's supposed to be the new Captain America, a little dirty, where he has not a single line of dialogue, yet he's supposed to be the new Captain America, leader of the new Avengers, and he has no line of dialogue, yet Thor is talking a majority of the trailer, and Steve Rogers gets more lines than Sam Wilson. So it's just like, y'all doing him dirty. Y'all please don't do my boy Sam dirty. But overall, I thought it was pretty good. I thought the trailer was pretty good, and I was like, I'm excited. I was like, okay, now you're getting me. But I understand why some people are like, it could have been better. But I also think it's not a case of that the trailer wasn't good. I think people are sadly, because we still have to remember, Marvel has been hitting a little of a fatigue with people doing all those Disney Plus shows that failed miserably. A lot of movies not doing good. It's been a weird fatigue moment where people have been just like so-so on Marvel. So that's one thing I think that could be contributing to it. But another thing that could be contributing to this whole, like, people feeling a little off with this trailer is because people are still thinking about that Doom is a character and a villain in the comics you want to build around. You want to do a good job with building up his character and leading into him. You don't just want to drop him right there and call it a day. You have to do some build up, similar to Thanos, how he was popping up in movie after movie, showing how much of a threat he was, as we're slowly seeing him build up, him getting the gauntlet and be like, fine, I'll do it myself. And it's like all that kind of stuff. And you're just seeing like this buildup for Thanos to get you excited for Infinity War. They've done none of that for Doom. And this is kind of also a negative of the whole, them trying to pivot from the whole Jonathan Majors situation. You guys remember there's the whole thing of him and the girlfriend and his ex-girlfriend at the time, and the whole beating up situation, yada, yada, yada. We know that resulted in basically Hollywood essentially blacklisting him, where even Disney cut ties, where he was supposed to be playing the next big villain. He's supposed to be playing Kang the Conqueror. And because of everything that happened, they were like, okay, we got to pivot. And so they then revealed, well, instead of recasting Kang, we're just going to go and pivot to Doom. And that's where people are like, dude, you spent all this time building up Kang, and now you're just going to drop Doom on us? Doom needs that buildup. And now with no buildup, it's just like, people are finding it hard, because it's like, we love Doom. Doom is a great villain, but how am I supposed to feel the threat from him if there's been no buildup? And I think I haven't made a post about it, but I have shared this sentiment of the movie is going to have to do some serious heavy lifting the movie's gonna have to seriously do some heavy lifting for Doom's character and to make him a threatening force in the movie, because at this rate I don't think the trailers will be able to really do it on their own. They're gonna have to do the movie's gonna have to really like show that he's a threat, because there's been no build up of why he's a threat. So again, it sucks, but that's just sadly what happens with all these pivots and changes. But overall, I think the trailer was good. I also can understand why people are like, it could have been better, or feel like, I just wasn't feeling that spark like Infinity War and Endgame. And yeah, it's just because they weren't able to build him up properly. But I also kind of want to share a little theory too I have about this movie involving Steve Rogers, because a lot of people also don't like Steve Rogers coming back because they felt like Endgame and Infinity War did a really good send off for Steve Rogers, and him finally be able to spend time with Peggy and start a family and put the Captain America life behind him. So like, oh, why is he back? And why is he wearing a black shirt and khakis, the dad fit to this, when he should be wearing his suit? But it's like, well, first off, it also makes sense they don't want him to be in a Captain America suit, because they don't want him to be taking the thunder away from Sam Wilson, who's supposed to be the new Captain America. But I'm starting to really think, y'all, that he's going to end up being Captain Hydra, which, if you don't know, this is where it's an alternate universe where Captain America ends up becoming a Hydra agent. And it's a whole big event where it's revealed he's actually secretly working for Hydra, who are the bad guys. And we find out that history had been rewritten in the comics, where he was now a Hydra agent. It was a whole big thing of him being a bad guy. And I'm not gonna lie, I feel like that they're bringing Steve Rogers back because they're gonna pull a twist that Steve Rogers in this movie, he's gonna be pretending to be a good guy, and then we're gonna get the big twist that he's secretly working for Doom and that he's actually Captain Hydra. And that this was all part of the plan, so then Hydra can get their own part of Battle World or something like that once Doom wins, because Doom has to win. That's the only way Secret Wars can happen, is Doom is going to win this movie. We just don't know how he's going to win. And what better way to win than have a master deceitful play and tricking the heroes into thinking that, first off, that he's a good guy, because from what the rumors are saying is that he's going to start off like, oh, I'm here to help you guys stop the incursions from happening. Let's go and stop this. And then pull a 180 and be like, actually, my way of stopping it is a lot more drastic than what you guys want to do. So see you later. And what other way to trick the heroes than also have it that Steve Rogers is also a bad guy? But then when I started thinking about it, I was like, wait a minute. He catches Mjolnir in the trailer, and if you don't know the comics, Mjolnir is supposed to be where only people who are most worthy can wield it. Hence why Captain America in Endgame was able to carry Mjolnir, because he was worthy. So I was like, wait, so if this is an evil Captain America, how is he wielding Mjolnir? Well, I thankfully saw a comic channel on YouTube break it down that he actually, where evil Cap Hydra actually did wield Mjolnir in the comics, and that was because one of the Hydra people had basically rewritten the spell or whatever for Mjolnir, that instead of it being that only those who are most worthy can wield it, that instead whoever wields it will lead Hydra to victory or something like that. So they've rewritten it so he could wield it. So again, that would be very convoluted and a lot to explain, but there is a way to explain why Steve in this trailer is able to wield Mjolnir, because if he's evil, that's why. So that's my little theory there of why they might be bringing him back to do a big twist villain thing, that he's secretly working with Doom, so then they can end up winning to lead to Secret Wars. But we'll see. You share down below. Are you excited for Avengers Doomsday coming up this December? But lastly, to finish off our movie Marvel section here, or just in general our movie section, I kind of wanted to just share where Kevin Feige, in those same interviews where we talked about, he had revealed that he feels like a gigantic loser and failure for Blade not happening. If you remember, we were supposed to be getting a new Blade movie with Mahershala Ali performing and acting out as Blade in the film. It did not end up. We kept hearing that the movie was getting delayed, writers were getting fired, and new writers were getting brought in, and everybody was just like, when is this Blade movie supposed to be happening? You announced Mahershala Ali was supposed to be portraying Blade in the MCU like I think oh oh I think it was like back in what was it 4 years ago maybe. Because I think there was even a post made like 4 years ago. It was announced that he was supposed to be playing as Blade, and I'm like, dude, that it was just like you kept hearing more and more bad news that the movie was getting delayed, and it's like, guys, Mahershala signed this deal to basically play Blade, and he's waiting on you guys, so meaning he can't take other movie roles. You guys are wasting his talent and time because he's waiting for you guys to do this movie. And then it started to seem more and more likely that it's like this movie's just not going to happen. Then there was rumors that now his standalone movie is getting turned into a team-up movie where he'll be working with the Midnight Suns, which is like already it's like, what are y'all doing? Come on. You're going to turn Blade's first appearance into a team-up movie? And it's just like, and now this feels like the pretty clear, like, evidence and confirmation that Blade is not happening anymore. And it's just like, I'm not trying to be that guy, but it's like, you kind of should feel like a loser. Sorry about that audio cut there. But you should feel like a loser for failing and a essential black comic book character like Blade like this. And it should have been simple. And it sounds like Kevin Feige just sadly overthought the process of making this movie, which resulted in all the changes and essentially the cancellation. So now not only has the Blade movie been canceled, the Blade game has probably been canceled too. So it's like, man, he can't catch a break. And it's just like, it even adds into how a lot of people, especially a lot of people in the black culture and community, have been starting to feel like the MCU has been really doing its black characters and heroes dirty. From Ironheart not getting any promotional material to help push it for people to go and watch it on Disney Plus, and just kind of shadow dropping it. And that was a black female led series for Ironheart, who appeared in Black Panther 2. So them doing that, them even barely promoting the Wonder Man series, which also had a black lead. The Blade movie constantly dealing with delays and them just not figuring it out. Now there's even rumors that the Armor Wars movie that was supposed to be a Rhodey focused film, Rhodey who plays War Machine in all those Iron Man movies and stuff, his movie now is getting changed to where now Rhodey will no longer be the lead, and now it will just be another Iron Man movie for when they reboot everything. And so a lot of black people are starting to be like, man, Marvel, y'all are seriously dropping the ball on these famous and iconic black comic characters. Like, come on now. Even people are feeling the same with Sam Wilson. His movie came out. Let's be real. That movie, Brave New World, was not a good movie. They turned a movie that really should have been a Captain America focused movie into really a Captain America Hulk essential movie, where his villain was Red Hulk. And what's his name? I can't think of his name. But they took two Hulk villains and made them Captain America villains in that movie. And it's just like, everybody's like, dude, we're starting to get a list now of you guys doing black comic book characters dirty in your process of how you're handling the promotion or even handling getting these projects out. It's like, guys, come on, do these black comic book characters some justice. And it's like, I can't deny, it's like, it's getting to a point, this is getting ridiculous, that we really have not seen a single black comic book character that is not Black Panther be successful in the MCU right now. We really haven't. Like I said, Blade, seemingly canceled. Ironheart, no promotion. No one barely watched it on Disney Plus. Wonder Man, even though it was one of the most watched Marvel Disney Plus shows, it still had barely any promotional material. It was a miracle that people still watched it. Brave New World, that movie flopped. It was not a good movie. It was bad. It had a lot of writer changes and all of that kind of stuff. And to the point where even Captain America Sam Wilson, where he's supposed to now be the Captain America, feels like he's getting sidelined. Let's see here. Then there's even some people who bring the conversation, them not wanting to recast Chadwick Boseman Black Panther, and feeling like, man, y'all are doing Black Panther disservice for basically giving us no T'Challa Black Panther because you guys didn't want to recast Chadwick. That I honestly didn't hate that decision. I feel like it's okay, especially now that we're getting close to a reboot. But still, it adds into that list that people are getting tired and they want to start seeing their beloved black comic book characters, their African American comic book characters, start to get some love. It can't just be Black Panther. As much as I love those Black Panther movies, I'm like, okay, let's start to see some more black characters. Let's see some Blue Marvel. Let's see some Blade. Let's start to see more representation because right now you guys are dropping the ball, Marvel, and people are starting to get a little fed up. So that's the last that we really got there in that movie news. You share down below. What do you think about this? About me breaking, kind of like giving you a list of why people are feeling this way of how Marvel's been handling their black-centered characters, and as far as in the MCU, do you think that people are overreacting, or do you think that people maybe are onto something that Marvel hasn't been able to do African American censored comic Marvel characters justice? Share that down below what you think in the chat and comments. But that is all that we have for tonight's episode. Like I said, I know it's still almost to the hour mark, but again, I did say this wasn't going to be as long of an episode as typically, but there was still a lot to talk about. And as always, I love every time when you guys tune in. I appreciate every person that decides to go and look up my channel or to click on the link and even like it, share it, pressing the hearts, all that kind of stuff. I appreciate the support as always. And again, we come on live 7:30 p.m. Central Time, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Again, as always, love you guys. Take care. Y'all have a good night.